So last time we got the 140 to run, but unfortunately it was only on one mag. So starting off today, I'm going to try to address that magneto issue. So I thought if I took the magneto off, I would be able to tell if it was internally timed correctly or not from the overhaul station. I knew it was a long shot, but it's all I could think of considering how many times I doubled and triple checked my timing. Alright guys, we're back in here today, and there's been a lot that's really taken place since I took that mag off. So I took it down to school, I tried testing it on that tester, and everything seemed to be working fine. So I didn't really know what to think about it. And then it dawned on me that maybe there was something between the switch and the mag that was messed up. So I got to looking at it, and where the wire crossed through the firewall, there's a little grommet right there. And to where it crossed through the firewall, it looked like the P-lead had actually chafed a little bit, which kind of surprised me, but the grommet was worn out. So what I did is I ran new wire, put a new grommet on it. So what I'm going to get started with today is I'm really going to start prepping for the annual. To do that, I've got a whiteboard that I'm planning on hanging in here, listing out the major components. I've got a clipboard with a checklist on it, and I'm going to start trying to go through the legal things that you're supposed to do in accordance with FAR 43 for each annual inspection. So we're going to get started with that today, but I already know that I have some squawks or some maintenance items that are going to need to be addressed on this aircraft. So the left brake has bled down. It's been bled down since I started working on this thing months ago. And I finally got in some 5606. I'm going to check, make sure those lines are connected correctly, and then we're going to get started on servicing that. And then hopefully, if everything goes well, I'm going to take the plane back out today, get it running again, get it warm, bring it in, start the compressions. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do on this brake is I'm going to go through, and since it's low, I'm going to get a wrench out and touch every fitting from here all the way up to the master cylinder in the plane, just to make sure that it's not come loose and leaked out. I don't see any residue anywhere, so I'm hoping that the master cylinder doesn't need to be rebuilt, but we'll see. If it does, then I'll just chalk the plane again, run it again, and shut it down, take it in, and do compressions. But I was hoping to be able to taxi under its own power today for the first time in a very, very long time. All right, so it goes back in here. Ooh, just grabbed a wasp's nest. That was fun. Alright, so at this point it goes up to here and then to this. So this master cylinder right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cap off, and I'm going to hook up on the bottom side, that blue cap right there, on the back here where the caliper is outside. I'm going to hook in a hose, and I'm going to force the air that's in this system up and through. So hopefully it will all come out, and I'll actually get brakes on this side. But as you see right now, I've got like no pressure whatsoever. The right side's still good. Like, I've still got some good pressure on the right side, but I've just lost a lot of resistance on this left side. So we'll see what's going on there and go from there. As I began to check the fittings and take the brake line off to double check and see if there was any fluid in it, I realized that it was completely dry. So I went ahead and took the caliper off to see if there was a chance that it was just the O-ring in the caliper had gone bad. You can maybe see here, there's a glisten from where all of the 5606 has leaked out and just turned this thing to grime. So I would say that this O-ring is messed up inside of this puck here. So basically the way this works, fluid comes in. When you press the toe of your brakes, this fluid, the force inside of that fluid is transferred to everywhere in the fluid. It pushes this puck out, which grabs this brake and squeezes the brakes around the rotor to help stop the aircraft. And when that O-ring that's inside of here fails, this happens and you start having fluid get washed out. So we're going to clean this up. So the fluid inside of here looks really clean, which is good. I was worried it might be gummed up inside of the caliper. That would be a lot harder to clean without a part solvent cleaner right here. Get a new O-ring and install in it, and then we will get it back on the airplane. So I think the caliper's okay, it just needs to be rebuilt. The O-ring that I'm referring to is this guy right here. This O-ring here that sets inside of just a little groove here, and this is what makes the seal on the brakes. The caliper rebuilt now, got a new O-ring inside of this thing. I've got all my pads cleaned up. The pads actually still look pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the caliper here, and then we will hook the line back up. Thanks, Mr. Mailman. Good night. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna open that kind of stop valve here on the bottom. I'm going to take my oil pump here, hook it through a hose to the bottom of this thing, and then just start filling it up. Probably have to fill this thing up multiple times to get it to actually start coming out the top, but eventually it will. At which point I can seal the cap, try to work some of the air bubbles out, clean up the mess, and we'll go from there. So this is going to be a little bit of a tedious process, but hopefully we get her done. The other way to bleed brakes that we're probably going to end up having to do here is because this, for some reason, my connection is not good enough and the hydraulic fluid is shooting back out and around my fitting. So I'm going to tighten this back up, and then I'm just going to pump it down from the top. And it'll take longer to work the air out that way, because this way I could force the air up. Alright, so real fast, the sun is setting out here. It's really beautiful out here right now. I'm going to try to get the plane out and try to run it one time here this evening now that everything's done. I mean, it feels like the brakes are holding good. I'm still gonna go ahead and put chocks under the tires just to start it. If it does seem like it's holding good and everything's running well, I may shut it down, get out, move them, fire it back up. And I'm on the grass here, so this should provide plenty of friction to hold the aircraft in place. And let's give it a shot and see what happens. It was such a relief after the thousands of dollars and months of working on this aircraft to finally have it running correctly on both mags, and I was able to do systems checks on the electrical system, as well as I went through and did a basic run-up for everything to make sure it looked good. Was able to run through a variety of power settings, and the aircraft is functioning great on the ground. I even was able to taxi it around and make sure that those brakes were properly working. Once I got the aircraft back inside, I took off the spark plug leads as well as the bottom plug so I could begin to do compression tests on the engine. I had been worried about these compression tests for at least a month now, because my biggest fear was that my compressions would be so poor I would need to pull cylinders off and lap their valves or grind them down to help them reseat. But so far everything had been going well, and I ended up having good compression on every cylinder. So that was a huge relief, and hopefully these will only continue to improve as the aircraft begins to run more. Over time, they can and probably will improve, especially if they're as good as they are right now. For as little as this thing has run, I am super happy with compressions in the mid-60s to low 70s. So I'm happy with that. So yeah, let's go and get the oil draining. I didn't want to drain the oil just in case I had a bad compression, and then I would have to take it back out. I've got the oil drained. I need to open the screen and take a look at it, and then that'll probably be the last thing I do tonight. I got to go out of town tomorrow for a wedding, and I wanted to try to do as much as I could on this before leaving. So hopefully when I get back, I'll be able to actually start the physical annual. So compressions were the thing I was worried about. Now that that's done, it's just going to be a lot of thorough inspecting the interior of the wing, making sure that everything's working properly, checking all of my instruments and radios, stuff like that, make sure that they're working correctly, because I can't, something's up with one of my radios, and it may just be it's so old it's ruined, but hopefully not. And if it is, hopefully I can find just a straight replacement for it, but if not, maybe looking at doing a radio install on this thing at some point. So we'll get going on this over the next few weeks, try to, before the dead of winter, have the annual done, have everything signed off, legally up and running, and fly it out of here. I really do appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.